Jones is dead and gone, she could no longer stay. No one knew how old she was, but she was often heard to say how she was born in 1830 in the sweet County Cork. But she crossed the foaming billows till she landed in New York. Mother Jones, the miner's angel, must be treated with respect. She's an old-fashioned lady, and you never would suspect that this gown and this bonnet would fill a rich man full of dread. She's the most dangerous woman in America, they said. I see her marching up the street with her umbrella in her hand. I can hear her still at Ludlow, where the miners made a stand. And she says, John D., will you kindly tell to me, how could you let your troopers lay them 13 children down in the horrors of West Virginia and in Colorado too? Mother Jones and her miners they never could subdue, and the men they fought and died in their tents and shanty towns, and the women stood like a wall of steel that nothing could batter down. Mother Jones, the miner's angel, must be treated with respect. She's an old-fashioned lady, and you never would suspect that this gown and this bonnet would fill the rich man full of dread. She's the most dangerous woman in America, they said. And it's now for the horrors of child labour, says she. And the march of the mill children took place in 1903 from Philadelphia to New York. And she says, I'm going to show Wall Street the flesh and blood they squeezed to make their dough. When she died in 1930, oh, the sadness was profound. And they laid her to rest in a Union burial ground. And she lies in Mount Olive, where the midnight wind it moans. Stand up for the Union, cries the spirit of Mother Jones. And the rich man and his police and his pulpit and his press got away with murder then, they get away with it yet. But we'll forge a mighty union and we won't be overthrown. And we never will forget the spirit of Mother Jones. Thank you. Well, I wrote that song for, especially for the Afri March. You know, they celebrate that every year. Maybe not this year, but every year they march from Lewisburg in County Mayo to Durlock, where there was rich people living, and they'd heard these people who were starving in the famine. Should have said that. They'd heard that these rich people were fairly sympathetic towards their problem. So they walked I think it's about 5.5 miles to the house, and they were turned back. And they were in such bad condition, a lot of them died on the way back. And that is celebrated every year by Afri. And one year, about 12 or 13 years ago, me and the spirit of Mother Jones were the leaders of that march. And it's also the fact now that in Cork City, August the 1st is Mother Jones Day, and there's a festival to prove it. So Mother Jones has come up in the world in Cork and in Ireland since she died in 1937. But next song is something completely different. And I'll accompany myself on this bass bouzouki. The song is from County Tyrone, and it's called Renardine, and it's about a character that you wouldn't want to meet in County Tyrone or anywhere else.
One evening as I rambled down by Pomeroy, I met a pretty fair maid upon the mountainside. Says I, my pretty fair maid, your beauty shines clear on this lonely mountain. I'm glad to see you here. Kind sir, she says, be civil and my company forsake, for it is my opinion that you are a rake. And if my father finds out, his anger I would fear, for keeping of your company all on these mountains here. No, I am no rake, but brought up in high degree, but I live a life of solitude here among the trees. Your beauty has ensnared me, I cannot pass you by. Do not be afraid of me all on these mountains high. This pretty little fair maid, she fell into a maze, as with eyes as bright as diamonds, as on her I did gaze. And her ruby lips and rosy cheeks, they lost their former dye. She fell into my arms all on the mountainside. I had not kissed her once or twice till she came to again, and modestly she asked me, pray sir, what is your name? If you go in yon forest, my castle you may find. My name, as old as history, is Renardine. And now, my pretty fair maid, don't let your father know, for if you do, 'twill ruin you and prove your overthrow. And if that you should seek for me, perhaps you'll not me find. I'll be in my castle, inquire for Renardine. Her hair was black, her eyes were blue, her lips like ruby wine, and I smiled to gaze upon her, sly bold Renardine. Sun and dark she followed after me, my teeth did brightly shine, as I led her o'er the mountain, sly bold Renardine.
Renardine, sly bold Renardine. A naughty man and a dangerous man. But this is another song from the north of Ireland. This song comes from County Antrim, where my mother came from. And it's a song called Farewell to Kelswater. And it's one of many, many songs from that area about the man lover having to go to America because can't earn a living in Ireland, and promising to come back again. In this song, it's a little bit ambiguous as to whether he does come back or not, but we hope he does. Farewell to Kelswater. Here's a health to you, bonny Kelswater, where you'll get all the pleasures of life, where you'll get all the fishing and fowling, and a bonny wee lass for your wife. Oh, it's down where yon waters run muddy, I'm afraid they will never run clear, and it's when I begin for to study, my mind is on them that's not here. For there's this one and that one may court him, but if anyone gets him but me, it's early and late I will curse them that parted lovely Willie from me. Oh, a father, he calls on his daughter, two choices I'll give unto thee. Would you rather see Willie's ship a-sailing, or see him hung like a dog from yon tree? Oh, father, dear father, I love him, I can no longer hide it from thee. Through an acre of fire I would travel, along with lovely Willie to be. Oh, its heart was the heart that confined her, and took from her her heart's delight. May the chains of old Ireland bind around them, and soft be their pillows at night. Yonder's a ship on the ocean, and she does not know which way to steer. From the east to the west she's a-blowing, she reminds me on the charms of my dear. Oh, yonder my Willie will be coming, he said he'd be here in the spring, and it's down by yon green shades I'll meet him, and among yon green bushes we'll sing. For a gold ring he placed on my finger, saying, love, bear this in your mind, if ever I sail from old Ireland, you'll mind I'll not leave you behind. Farewell to you, bonny Kelswater,
where you'll get all the pleasures of life, where you'll get all the fishing and fowling, and a bonny wee lass for your wife.
All right, lads? Okay. Okay, well, on we go. And this is another song from County Antrim. And it's quite a well-known song. It's called The Banks of the Bann. It's not the only song called The Banks of the Bann. Oh, I think that's the right harmonica. Wrong way around. Always play it the wrong way around. Just before I was taught, or not taught, you can't, it's very hard to be taught the harmonica because you can't see what you're doing. But just before I started playing it, an old friend of mine, Rambling Jack Elliott, told me that Woody Guthrie played it upside down, and so did most of the southern blues players. And so just in the nick of time, I was able to learn it upside down, which is really no advantage, but also no disadvantage. Except if you put it in the wrong way round, you cannot play it. That's happened to me once on television. But okay, so this is The Banks of the Bann. A song of lost love. God, how many songs are there about lost love? But this is one. When first to this country a stranger I came, I courted a wee girl, she's the cause of my woe. She being fair and tender, her waist small and slender, kind nature had formed her for my overthrow. On the banks of the Bann where I first beheld her, she appeared like great Juno, that fair Grecian queen. Her eyes were like diamonds or stars brightly shining. I thought her the fairest in this wide world I'd seen. It was her cruel parents that first caused our variance, because I was poor and of a low degree. But I use all my endeavour to gain my love's favour, although she is come from a rich family. Well, my name is Delaney, it's a name that won't shame me, or had I saved money I would never have wronged. But drinking and sporting, night rambling and courting, they're the cause of my ruin and my absence from home. Had I all the money that lies in the Indies, or all the great diamonds that's in the Queen's store, I would live here on the banks of the lovely Bann River, in all kinds of splendour with the girl I adore. this country, a stranger I came. I placed my affection on a maid that was young. She being fair and tender, her waist small and slender, Mother Nature had formed her for my overthrow. Thank you very much. This next one is a song about the great magician and, well, even greater escaper, Harry Houdini. And I doubt whether anybody watching this will have not heard of Houdini. Apart from being great at his skill and his job and what he did escaping, he was a great self-promoter and a great showman. And so even though he died nearly 100 years ago, his name is still remembered worldwide. And this is a song I wrote called Houdini. Harry Houdini, the handcuff king, he could escape from nearly anything. The world's admiration, Harry Houdini won it, for if it could be done, Houdini done it. Houdini, Hungarian born, taking the whole wide world by storm, getting out of straitjackets and walking through walls. Houdini could do it if it could be done at all. He took 27 needles and he swallowed them clean. We examined his mouth, not a needle to be seen. Then he swallowed cotton thread, what a magical blend. The needles came out threaded when he pulled on the end. Locked and chained in a casket underwater, holding his breath much longer than he oughta, accepting every challenge and he never would shun it, for if it could be done, Houdini done it. Jumping off a bridge with a big ball and chain, manacled and shackled, sure the man's insane. 10 minutes passed and we thought he must have died. When he came to the surface, it's magic, we cried. 20,000 people witnessed the affair. We cheered, shook hands and threw our hats in the air, and everybody wondered just how he'd overcome it. But if it could be done, Houdini done it. Locked and chained on a big wheel rotating, the buzz of the crowd excitedly waiting. The world's admiration, Harry Houdini won it, for if it could be done, Houdini done it. At Scotland Yard they locked him in a cell, handcuffed and leg iron, thumb screwed as well. They said they'd be back in an hour or more, but he was free before they'd even reached the door. Oh, Harry Houdini, the handcuffed king, he could escape from nearly anything. The detectives, one and all, they were standing around, saying, God help us all if he's ever sent down. Locked and chained and buried alive, the audience afraid that he wouldn't survive. Whatever the risk, Houdini would run it, for if it could be done, Houdini done it. In Scotland Yard at New York City, he was all the rage. He brought Jenny the elephant onto the stage, and he says, now Jenny, say goodbye to the crowd. She tossed her head and she trumpeted and bowed, but the audience said, for heaven's sake, a disappearing elephant, give us a break. In the twinkling of an eye their doubts he'd banished, for into thin air the elephant vanished. Locked and chained in the passage underwater, holding his breath, blubbering and he oughta, accepting every challenge and he never would shun it, for if it could be done, Houdini done it. Before he died
he said to his wife, I've been escaping from chains the whole of my life, but now the greatest challenge that's facing me is escaping from the chains of eternity. So his loving wife and friends most dear tried to make contact every year, but Harry Houdini on that distant shore, obeying the concept of natural law, never appeared, no, never no more. Locked and chained, Houdini the brave, seemingly unable to escape from the grave. His fame and renown forever at the summit, for if it could be done, Houdini done it. Harry Houdini, the handcuffed king, he could escape from nearly anything. The world's admiration, Harry Houdini won it, for if it could be done, Houdini done it. If it could be done, Houdini done it. If it could be done, Houdini done it.
Thank you. Well, this is a song I wrote about miners. I've written quite a lot of song about miners, and I'm not sure exactly why that is, but mining was a desperately hard job, and very often not very well paid, and it was a job for life. You know, if you started off as a 12-year-old picking rocks out of the coal above ground, you'd probably wind up spending the rest of your life, and it mightn't be that long, down below as a fully fledged coal miner. And that's what happened. Well, that's what would have happened to this man in this song, except his father had other ideas.
His dad was a miner and his granddad was too. There was never much question about what he might do. By the age of 13 he had laid down his pen and become a coal miner and a prince among men. My goal as a young lad from a bright early age was to follow my hero down in that cage. Fairy lights and pit ponies were the stuff of my dreams, never thinking how hard my dad worked at the scene. Only a miner killed under the ground, only a miner and one more is found. Killed by accident, no one can tell. Your mining's all over, poor miner, farewell. Dad worked like a Trojan, his money to save. I'm afraid that he worked himself into his grave, and my schooling was paid for at the cost of his lungs. Dad was an old man at the age of 41. I never will forget how his face lit with pride when I got my diploma. He was there by my side, but I tried to remember him as he was then, a rare moment of joy for a prince among men. Only a miner killed under the ground, only a miner and one more is found. Killed by accident, no one can tell. Your mining's all over, poor miner, farewell. An old watch and chain inscribed James Doyle never seemed much reward for a life of such toil, but I keep his lamp burning in this old Union card, and his bones rest here in the sunlit graveyard. My dad was a miner and a prince among men, well loved by his wife and his family and friends, and his hardship and toil gave me the one chance I had, and generations of slavery died with my dad. Only a miner killed under the ground, only a miner, and one more is found. Killed by accident, no one can tell. Your mining's all over, poor miner, farewell. Only a miner killed under the ground, only a miner, and one more is found. Killed by accident, no one can tell. Your mining's all over, poor miner, farewell. Well, they built the ship Titanic to sail the ocean blue, and they thought they'd built a ship that no harm would ever come to. But fate had played a hand, and that ship would never land. 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. Cold and frosty was the night, it was nearly 12 o'clock, when the great ship Titanic began to pitch and rock, and the passengers all cried, "Oh, are we going to die?" 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. It was sad, it was sad, it was sad when that great ship went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. When the ship had left Southampton and was sailing along the shore, the rich declared they would not travel with the poor, so they put the poor below where they were the first to go. It was sad when that great ship went down. And as the humble closed their eyes in the darkness of the hold, the rich men up the stairs, they were playing cards for gold. And they laughed when a sailor said, "There's an iceberg straight ahead." It was sad when that great ship went down. It was sad, it was sad, it was sad when that great ship went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. When they reached the banks of Newfoundland, the wireless it did plead, "There's icebergs all around here, for God's sake, watch your speed." But the wireless operator, he answered with a quip, "'Twould take more than an iceberg to sink this mighty ship." When he heard the awful news, oh, the captain stood aghast. Says, "Steady now, brave boys, I think we're going a shade too fast." Hard astern he cried, too late to save their lives. 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. And the ship about to sink, and the sides about to burst, the captain shouted out, "Women and children first." And they tried to send a wire, but the wires were all on fire. 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. It was sad, it was sad, it was sad when that great ship went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. Many lifeboats were half full when they sent them out to sea, and the band on board was playing Near, oh my God, to Thee. Little children wept and cried as the waves swept o'er the side. 'Twas sad when that great ship went down. Many men stood back like heroes and sent their wives to shore, kissed, shook hands and parted to meet on earth no more. And death came sailing by, 1,500 had to die. It was sad when that great ship went down. It was sad, it was sad, it was sad when that great ship went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. It was sad when that great ship went down.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. I'm going to finish off with a song about a pub that I more or less came to my maturity or came to my senses or whatever. Actually lost my senses in many times. A pub in Dublin called O'Donoghue's. And this is a song which is dedicated to anybody who's ever lifted a pint of Guinness in O'Donoghue's pub. It was August 1962 when I first set foot in O'Donoghue's. A world of music, friends and booze opened up before me. I never could have guessed as I walked through the door just what the future had in store. A crossroads for my life I saw, lying there to taunt me. Well, I was an actor, I played straight, I played in the Gaiety, played at the Gate. My mother in 1928 had trod those boards before me. I was getting tired of the company, an actor's life did not suit me. I said goodbye, you'll never see me back here in Neary's. Johnny Moynihan in his fusty coat was the first to play there in Merrion Row. He brought the bouzouki to Ireland, you know. Way storm along, John. Paddy and Maureen O'Donoghue, Kieran Burke, Luke Kelly, Ronnie Drew, Barney McKenna and me and you in the early 1960s. Well, Paddy and Maureen, very, very sound, though she liked to camp on the moral high ground. You had long hair, you were outward bound. Go down, you blood red roses. Ronnie Drew in his fine suit of blue and a voice like gravel that would cut you in two. We thought he was Dublin through and through, but he blew in from Dunleary. Joe Ryan and John Kelly in the front bar, their fiddles up from the County Clare. Joe Heaney sings in the cold night air in the laneway after closing. Our sea shanties in perfect tune and Seamus Ennis in the afternoon. It was all over much too soon. Days of wine and roses. Well, Banjo Barney calling the tune. Mary Jordan's a whiz on the spoons. Up the Swanee and down the Broom. Barney's rising to it. They carry him bodily out to the jacks. He empties his bladder and they carry him back. He swallows his pint and he's right back on track. How the fuck does he do it? Any afternoon you might find there Luke Kelly in his banjo and his red hair. Oh, what times, what an atmosphere. What more can a young man wish for? How I'd spend my time was never in doubt. This is what life was all about. A bowl of soup and a pint of stout. Agus fága míid siúd mar a fáisé. Dave Smith
never short of a witty phrase. Sonny Brogan loved the way he plays. Ted McKenna, God bless the days of Italian mandolinos. At closing time we didn't go far, just down the road to the Pike Coffee Bar. The usual suspects, there you are. Have yous no homes to go to? Putting up a note on the message board. Sweeney's men have a gig, oh Lord. We have to meet at 12 o'clock for the journey down to Galway. But the Sweeney van broke down at the door, and we didn't get started till 4:15 to the merry tune of the Dolan Snore. Haul away, me Rosie. It all came to an end in 68. The rest of the world was lying in wait, and I started out for a new landscape. Set sail for the Pyrenean Mountains from the old North Wall. Sailed away and all my friends were there on the quay. Won't be back for many's a day, but it was bloody great while it lasted. It was August 1962 when I first set foot in O'Donoghue's, a world of music, friends and booze hastening towards me. I never could have guessed as I walked through the door just what the future had in store. A blueprint for my life I saw lying there before me.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.